Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just Scare Us Already. I'm your host, Cheyenne, with my co host, Dave.
Hello.
And today we will be discussing another double feature of two scary movies that came out at the beginning of October.
Yeah, so although we are inching ever close to Halloween, it seems a lot of new horror film offerings are being released in limited theaters with very few screenings. This week we have the limited released Monster Summer starring Mel Gibson and Mason Thames, and the straight to streaming remake Salem's Lot starring Louis Pullman, who, by the way, if you didn't know, is the son of actor Bill Pullman from Independence Day. Can this be a sign that movie theaters are not willing to take a chance on more subpar horror films, or are audiences exhausted from the constant disappointment of one bad film after another? Will we ever have a what are you laughing about?
You're just so negative. I'm keeping this in.
I'm not being negative.
No, keep
Wow.
going, keep going. Our subpar movies.
All right. So, can this be a sign that movie theaters are not willing to take a chance on subpar horror films, or are audiences exhausted from the constant disappointments of one bad film after another? Will we ever have a film that will just scare us already? So, Cheyenne, tell us a little bit about Monster Summer.
Sure. So, Monster Summer was released in theaters on October 4th. Directed by David Henry, written by Brian Scholes and Cornelius Uliano, and starring Mel Gibson, Mason Thames, Abby James Witherspoon, and Julian Lerner. The movie follows a group of four friends when a mysterious force begins to disrupt the big summer fun on a small island. With a retired police detective, they all embark on a monstrous adventure to save their island. Currently, it sits at a 53% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 79% audience score as of this morning. But what did you
Okay,
think? Do you
great.
agree with these ratings?
Um, yeah, I guess I would have to. The movie Monster Summer was okay. It's a nice end of summer popcorn movie. The story and the plot line basically play as an extended R.L. Stein Goosebumps episode.
Mm-hmm.
The film definitely feels like it's geared towards a younger audience, hence the PG-13 rating. There's no major jump scares and no actual kills. What did you think?
I thought the movie was good. I mean, it was hard to find like physically. Only one theater was
Hmm.
showing it, kind of like you said at the beginning, and it was a pretty far theater, but it was a pretty packed theater, so that was kind of reassuring to see. This movie feels
Okay.
like you kind of said an easy cash grab for families. I think it definitely came out at the wrong time. It should have come out at the end of summer or midsummer. It just felt like it was out of place, into fall already, going into Halloween season when it's all focused on like summer fun. Not that it was a bad thing. I just feel like it should have come out a few months earlier and it would have been, like you said, a really good end of summer entering into the fall season movie. I thought that it wasn't bad. Honestly, I thought it was entertaining. If I was younger, I think it would have been, I could see where there would be tense moments and some scarier parts for like really little kids who do enjoy like the Goosebumps series, the Haunting Hour series, any of those kind of old school horror movies. And I thought that Mason Thames did a really good job showcasing his acting abilities. He was in Black Phone playing Finney, and I thought he
Mhm.
did a phenomenal job in that. So I'm really excited to see where his future takes him because I think he could definitely be a leading man in these kind of horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to disagree with you on the fact that it came out at the wrong time. I think the film works as a tween Halloween movie.
Mm-hmm.
It has enough darkness to have some viewers, watching the film through covered eyes,
Mm-hmm.
but enough lightheartedness as not to scare anyone too much. So I think it's a perfect Halloween film. I think it came out at the right time to kind of feed into the Halloween season. But yeah, other than that, I do feel like Mason Themes did a great job as Noah. Uh, with Mel Gibson and Lorraine Bracco and Kevin James, lending their star power,
Hmm.
to a very young audience, it was okay. I felt the Kevin James character was kind of
I
pointless,
agree.
as the news editor or owner of the newspaper, local newspaper.
Yeah.
Lorraine Bracco, her character, it was a nice fit. I felt, and Mel Gibson, I know he's usually more of a action hero, shoot 'em up kind of actor, but he did do those films with oh, I can't think of it, Will Ferrell, uh, where they're the dads that Will Ferrell's the dad of his
No, he
kids,
didn't.
and
That was Mark Wahlberg.
oh, that was Mark.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well, okay, cut that scene.
I will cut that.
I don't know why. No, no, oh, I'm sorry. No, Mel Gibson was in the second one. He
Oh,
was in the
okay.
sequel. He was, yeah, he was. What's his name's father?
Oh, okay. I didn't see the
Um,
sequel. Oh, okay.
Mark
I do know what
Wahlberg.
you're
He
talking
was
about.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, and then that
Yeah,
guy from
yeah,
33rd Rock from the Sun was Will Ferrell's dad, right?
right.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yep. I know I wasn't going crazy. I'm like, I knew I saw Mel Gibson in one of those movies. So yeah, but yeah. So he wasn't in both. He was in the sequel.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a good change of pace to see Mel
And
Gibson
I
and
think
and
he
more
did a
of
good
a
job.
lighthearted role.
Yeah,
What was that?
I think he did a good job. I think he played a, detective who has his own haunted past. I think he did it well. Him, not clinging, but growing to like Mason's character Noah, and growing that connection between the two of them and believing him or not believing him. I thought it was well done. I didn't find him to be overacting or underacting in the scenes. I thought
Hmm.
he did a really just good job of playing someone who wanted to believe this kid, but also wanted to obviously believe realism. As a whole, though, the movie is cute, cliche at times. But I will say the
Hmm.
biggest downfall I have for this whole movie is I think they were trying so hard to avoid revealing anything too early that the big reveal at the end felt so out of the blue and so not showcased at all. Like, at least I don't think that it was showcased at all up until right before they reveal it. So it just kind of felt like, oh, okay, like that was
Right.
random choice, but okay. So that was the one downfall I had. I was kind of looking for clues here and there, and there just wasn't any.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, overall, Monster Summer was enjoyable, but nothing to write home about. It works as a decent family Halloween film for kids over the age of 10,
Hmm.
kind of like Disney's Hocus Pocus and
Hmm.
Haunted Mansion. But I will admit that the deception was good,
Yes, the
where you
beginning
thought
deception was
it
good.
was yeah, because I thought it was predictable. I was
Same.
like, oh, come
I
on,
said they
really? It's
gave
going
it
to be that
away.
predictable?
Literally, the witch in one of the
Right,
books looked
right.
like the person who they were trying to make us think it, or yeah, who they were trying to make us think it was. So I was like, wow, this is so okay. But so it did give me where I
Yeah,
went.
yeah.
So the rest of the movie, I am spending the whole time going, who is it? Looking for all these clues, which is why I was so disappointed when I felt like the reveal came out of left field and didn't. That's a baseball joke. Um, didn't get built up in any way with any actual clues.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely lacked substance in many cases. And the reveal, that's when it really hit me like a Goosebumps episode,
Yes.
because it was almost as cheaply done as as one of those Goosebumps, you know, shows.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, but again, it was good to see a horror film geared toward a younger audience. But even in its limited release, I still felt Monster Summer could have been released straight to streaming.
Yeah.
I didn't, I don't know if it was maybe budget that they couldn't afford to release it to more theaters, or more theaters just weren't interested.
Hmm.
But I think it would have worked just as well going straight to streaming.
Yeah, I think if this had been released on like Disney Plus as part of like a what Halloween does basically, where they put out a new Halloween
Hmm.
special or a Halloween movie every day for like a week or whatever.
Yeah.
This would have been a good fit for it. I would have watched it and been like, okay, this is a really cute movie for kids. Like I said, in being of like a 3 episode parter of Goosebumps. Um, but I thought that overall, this is definitely one that you can bring your kids to, or if you're just someone who doesn't like scares and is maybe wanting to try to venture into horror, then this is definitely a thumbs up for this one. But in terms of would it scare me? Is it for a horror movie aficionado? No, I would say it's a very meh movie. I would give it an overall thumb sideways kitty. This is something you can wait for on
Okay.
streaming, but it's a thumbs up for people who aren't into horror or are little kids, or you have little kids who you want to introduce into the horror world. Unlike my father, who
Hmm.
introduced me through Scream. So,
Hey, got to start them off strong.
and what about you?
I actually give Monster Summer a thumbs up, kitty.
Ah,
I thought in the same um, vein as it,
okay.
and like I said, Hocus Pocus and Haunted Mansion, things like that. It's a lighthearted family type of horror film. I won't even call it horror. I would call it I guess kitty horror.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so yes, it's definitely not for someone who wants this big jump scares and the kills and the
Which I
blood.
think you can
None of that's
expect
here.
when you see the trailer.
Yeah,
You expect that that's not what you're coming in for.
exactly. It when I saw the trailer, it kind of reminded me of it, where they weren't showing
Yeah.
the the villain,
Which, thank
so all you
God.
saw were the kids like screaming and looking
Yeah.
off into the
And let
distance.
me just say, that's how we should be doing trailers for horror movies. I am so tired of being shown killed and being shown the monster and being shown all the jump scare scenes. Like this, the trailer was done well enough that it showed you what it was. It felt like the Goosebump movie. It felt like Tales to Tell in the Dark, or Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It felt like those kind
Hmm.
of movies in a really good way. Because I do like all those movies. I think all those movies are really fun movies to watch on Halloween or during the Halloween season.
Yeah, definitely,
So maybe I'll give
definitely.
this a thumbs up. Just not in terms of would it scare me, but in terms of is this a really good movie? Yes. Would it scare me? No.
Right. Yep.
But
Agreed.
going on to Salem's Lot, which was released on Max
All
or
right.
HBO Max on October 3rd. This was directed and written by Gary Doberman, based off of a Stephen King book. Mind you, Gary Doberman was also the director and writer of Annabelle, the original. So you kind of
Okay.
see the filming within this movie kind of the same as that. He actually directed a lot of really good movies. And this is starring Lewis Pullman, Mackenzie Lee, and Jordan Preston Carter. It follows an author, Ben Mears, returning to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for his next book, only to discover that the townspeople are being attacked by a bloodthirsty vampire. Currently, it is sitting with a 48% critic score and a 42% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is also a remake of an original movie that I believe was a TV movie that you can
Hmm.
also find on Max. So
Yep.
this is your favorite movie, right? Or this is your favorite book, right? By Stephen King?
Yeah, it was definitely one of the books that I enjoyed. I read all the well, I won't say I read all of them.
You
I've
have all
read
of them.
most of them. Yeah, I have a lot of them, but have I ever read them all? No. Um, and it's just to say I'm just not a big reader.
That's fair.
But I remember when the original Salem Slot was broadcast on CBS back in 1979 as a miniseries.
You're so
It was a
old.
two-parter, and although I was only 11 years old, the original scared me to death. Um, However, the 2024 remake of Salem's Lot only makes me cringe. I
Did
mean,
you
I thought,
rewatch the original?
yes, I did. I did. And I'll get to why it
Okay.
makes me cringe.
Okay, go
And I
ahead.
And I will say, I thought the 2004 remake of Salem's Lot starring Rob Lowe was bad, but this
Oh, I
one
didn't
takes
even
the
watch
top
that
spot.
one. I didn't know there
Yeah, there
was
was
one. I
actually,
forgot that.
yep, yep, in 2004, there was a remake, which was also, it wasn't made for TV, it was made for cable. I
Oh,
believe it
okay.
was on
Sci-fi or
AMC or
something.
one of
Oh,
those.
okay.
No, I think it was AMC.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, this was the third remake of Salem's Lot. Now, to tell you why this movie makes me cringe,
Yes, please.
the remake basically plays as a Cliff Note version of the
Yes.
original as well as the novel by Stephen King. The remake never builds the characters, nor does it build the town as many films based on Stephen King novels have done. I mean, for instance, It and Needful Things, you felt an eeriness about the town. The towns were not just backdrops, they took on a presence that adds to the film and the story.
Hmm.
In the original Salem's Lot, the film built up a sense of what the town represented, especially the Marston house, which I love your backdrop. Um, the remake never really focuses on the town and just glosses over the importance of the Marston house. I mean, it just felt so rushed and thrown
Uh-huh.
together. How did you feel about it?
So I thought this movie was so slow. And like at getting started, but once it got started, it did pick up really quickly, and then it kind of felt very rushed, like you said. Like, and I know that it was split into two parts, so they did have a lot more space to
Mhm.
grow. But even within the first movie, you feel Derry. Like you feel Derry Maine. You understand the type of town it is. You understand the people who live in this town. You understand the ignorance of the adults allowing, the children to get bullied the way that they're bullied, and even the evilness of some of these adults, like the main girl's father. I can't remember her name, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm blanking on all the kid names. But yeah, but you feel
Right.
Derry Maine, and like in 1924, another Stephen King movie that was on Netflix, you feel the characters, even if you don't feel the town. It focuses so
Mhm.
heavily on the characters, the husband's plight, the son's plight, the why everything happened to the mother that happened. And in this movie, I did not get any character. I didn't care that Danny became a vampire. I didn't care that this guy was dating this girl, Sam or whatever. I didn't care who was becoming vampires. I don't know if I wasn't paying enough attention, but like at some points I would look up and just be like, what is happening? What is going on? It was going on so quickly. But I will
Mhm. Mhm.
say, I rewatched the original after the fact. And oh my
Okay.
God, was it slow? It was so slow and mind numbingly boring that I kind of was like, well,
Okay.
maybe this remake was really good because it kind of got to everything really quickly. And then remake was
Uh-huh.
just so tedious.
Well, I will agree with that. That and you have to keep in mind that the original Salem slot had a runtime of just over 3 hours,
Yeah.
whereas the remake had a runtime just short of 2 hours.
Yeah,
So, with it being considered a mini series, a two-parter, they had more time
exactly.
to dive deeper into the book, and the remake left out a lot of things
A
that the
time.
original had included. But like you said, I just felt like the remake kind of rushed to everything. It was like, oh, here's another character, and here's a character, and here's a
Hmm.
character, and oh, that character is dead. Oh, that character's a vampire now. It
Yeah.
was just thrown
And I
around.
just,
And
go ahead.
mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in the relationship between Ben and Susan, in the original, they were kind of flirtatious with each other.
Hmm.
She kind of showed him around. Although he grew up in the town, he knew the town itself, but things had changed, and she kind of was uh, helping him get used to everything and whatnot. Where the remake just felt like she threw herself at him,
Yeah.
like, "Hi, I'm Susan. Let's get together."
Yeah. And the original, I could feel why he gave a care about Susan. Like although the talking is very odd in these kind of older movies, I feel like the way that they talk is just
Hmm.
strange. But I could feel the flirting. I could understand why he would feel so bad and hurt when she, inevitably goes through what she goes through. Versus the remake,
Hmm.
I was just kind of like, okay, you knew her for like what, a day? Why do you care? Like it felt
It
like that. It
felt
felt
like
like
it.
you knew her for a hot minute. You went on a date with her, and now you're like
Hmm.
risking your life for her. Which, granted, I mean, yeah, you should risk your life for anyone to save people, but like not to that degree. So, and then like he didn't know this kid. Like it all, like you said, it didn't feel like he built any relationships with any of the characters. I feel like it would have done better if they had a shorter runtime to just cut characters out, morph some characters
Hmm.
together, and then you can focus on the heavy storyline of, the house, the history of the house, everyone who's died in this house, building into this, him coming here for a
Hmm.
reason of actually discovering what's going on in his old hometown from what he could remember,
Hmm.
versus what we got. So there was aspects of the original I very much liked. It was just so slow, which again, because it's a TV series, that's just what happens with those kind of things, or
Right.
miniseries. But I would say if you're looking for something like this that is a miniseries, Mike Flanagan's Mass Midnight Mass, phenomenal movie, or phenomenal TV series, miniseries that you should watch on Netflix.
Hmm.
That follows the idea of um, a small town being run over by vampires, and what that does to the
Okay.
community as a whole. And this one, it's a little bit more religious based because it's about a church specifically becoming vampiric, but it's such a phenomenal show, and I think it. I don't know if it did or not, but it feels like it took a lot of inspiration from Salem's Lot, of that idea of a vampire taking over a town and getting people indoctrinated basically into the beliefs of his promises and whatnot. But yeah, so
Hmm.
overall though, I thought that the acting was decent in this movie. I thought the filmography looked nice. It was a nice looking movie. It never got too dark where you couldn't see anything, and but it was never overdone. I thought that the glowing crosses was a good touch instead of the glowing holy water from the original, to kind of signal the vampire
Hmm.
is coming. I liked the design of the vampire. I thought it did a good job of staying true to the old design, the original design, while not looking as hokey. Which, granted, obviously, like I'm watching it in 2024. I didn't watch it when it came out, but nowadays it
Right.
looks a bit hokey. But yeah, it just felt like it dragged so heavily, and it was a bit dumb that they didn't realize that the head vampire, when they like are searching for the vampire, is in the oldest, creepiest house in the entire town that sits literally on a hill.
Hmm.
That felt a little stupid to me. At least in the original, they all talk about the house. Like they know something is wrong with this house. And the new one, it was like, where is this vampire? Oh, maybe the house. We should probably check on the creepy hill. But yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely thought that, like I said, they didn't focus on the Marston house. I mean, even in the original, they didn't really go into detail because in the book, Ben mentions that his aunt used to work in the house.
oh,
And in the book, there's a chapter where Ben goes into the house as a child and he senses an evil presence in the house. That's how come in the original, every time he stares at the house, he breaks out in a sweat,
I
a
was
cold sweat,
wondering what that was
because
about.
something, yeah, something scared the heck out of him in the house. They never got into it in the original movie. So it was more like one of those things where if you read the book, you knew why he was sweating
Yeah.
when he was staring at the house and why he was so enthralled with the house and wanting to write a story about the evil of the house.
Mm-hmm.
The remake barely said anything about the house. I mean, they
Yeah,
just kind of
exactly.
like
And
forgot about it.
my thing is with this being on a streaming site like Max, I don't see why they didn't just do like a mini series, like a 3 episode or even a 2 episode
Yeah.
series of like, and then you could even explore like him being younger and going flashbacks to him going into this house, and possibly even,
Hmm.
change it a little bit. Like maybe he faces the vampire in an aspect, but thinks it's all a dream. Something where you kind of feel it more than this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely when I saw the trailer and saw that it was coming out on Max, I was like, "Oh wow, cool."
Yeah,
I got excited because I thought, like you said, maybe it was going to be another mini series, a two-parter or whatever. Um, and I was solely disappointed. I mean,
yeah.
it was just like, wow,
It felt like a heavy cash
Um,
grab.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, like just turn
So
it
I
out,
mean,
make it out real quick, put in,
mhm,
good special effects and call it a day.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say I did not like the remake of Salem's Lot. The storytelling was horrible and felt rushed. There was a couple of scenes that I liked, like, and I don't want to give anything away, but scenes where they actually were showing the as the town was changing, you started to see more and more vampires
Mhm.
at night and whatnot. So that was a nice little touch. Whereas in the original, you only saw him one at a time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, he turned into a vampire. Now you see him. Now you don't.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah, I agree. I thought that the
yeah, but
creeping, which again, not to toot, Mike Flanagan too much, but like I freaking love him. Midnight Mass kind of gives you the same thing. The seeing more and more glowing eyes in the darkness and people acting strange. So again, Dad, I think you would really like Midnight Mass. You really should watch it.
okay,
But yeah, I
all
thought that
right.
that was well done. I thought that the scene where they first reveal the vampire's appearance, and I don't want to give anything, but they do a reveal, a quick reveal, and I thought that that scene was really good. I was like, okay, that's creepy. That was well done. But yeah, other than
Hmm.
that, I don't think there was much to be desired from this movie. I definitely give it a thumbs down. I don't think it's worth watching. I think read the book, watch the original if you have the time. Um, Maybe compare, just watch it just to compare, but I wouldn't waste my time with it. I think it's very clearly done, and that sucks because I really do like Gary Doberman. A lot of the movies he's done, I think, are really well done. I just think that this movie was
Hmm.
Max's attempt at putting out a horror movie that they knew was going to get an audience because of nostalgia and because of knowledge of the movie already during October for the Halloween
Hmm.
season to make quick money, is how it felt to me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I can only say that if you're going to take on a novel like Salem's Lot, you can't chop it up into only scenes that you would consider scary and try to pass it off as a horror film. And that's what it felt like. It felt like they went through the book. Oh, this scene seems scary. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this scene seems scary, and we're going to put this in. We're going to put that in, and we're not going to really develop the characters. We're going to assume everybody watched the original or maybe even the 2004 Rob Lowe version,
Yeah.
and so they should know these characters. Yeah, definitely for me, thumbs down kitty. Don't waste your time. It's not a good movie.
No. And I would say going
So
forward,
yeah.
any producers or anyone out there who's listening, don't make a Stephen King novel into a movie. Make it into a short series. No, genuinely, because Stephen King is so heavy on detail that his short stories make good
Hmm.
movies, like good 2 hour long movies. 1928, Secret
Hmm.
Window, Secret Garden. I don't know if the God, what was that one called? The one where she's stuck in the bed. Gerald's Game.
Oh,
I don't know if that was a novel. I don't think it was a full
Gerald's
novel,
Game.
but I think that a lot of his
No, that's a novel.
oh, it's a novel. Okay, well, I think most of his stuff
Yeah.
should be miniseries because it's just so heavy in detail, and he's so good at creating an atmosphere and creating an entire town and these characters that you care about that it's really hard unless you're really
Hmm.
good at doing it. It's hard to make it into a one singular movie and make it worth it. So
Right.
yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
I mean there have been TV versions of his books, the Langoliers,
the
Tommy Knockers, the Stand.
yeah.
So there, and some of them were awful. Some of them were very bad. I think the Stand was probably one of the most successful ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been several of
Oh
his
yeah.
books that uh,
I don't
have
know if
been made
he's
into horrible
I wonder
movies.
if he's one of the ones who has, maybe R.L. Stein, but has the most adaptations to his book series, at least in movie form. I don't
Yeah, I'm
know,
not
but he
sure.
has a ton. And I mean, I love most of them. But I just think that with his
Hmm.
detail, it would benefit it to make it at least a two-parter or a two-part miniseries or something where you can delve into it a little bit more. Because we just missed out
Yeah.
on so much. Because I've never read the Stephen King's Salem's Lot, so I would not have known anything. And if this was like my first intro into Salem's Lot, I wouldn't have cared. I would have said,
Hmm.
"Wow, okay, that was a cheap movie. Throw
Yeah,
it
that must be a
away."
dumb
Like,
book.
yeah, I would have been like, "Oh, maybe that was one of his short stories from the Graveyard Shift that was just like not well developed or not pushed into anything further." So,
Right.
what a
Right.
shame. But at least we got one good movie. That's a good thing. We got a
Yeah.
thumbs up. We got 2 thumbs up kitties for um, Monster Summer. I don't know. Did you say what you give
Hmm.
this one?
Yeah.
Okay,
This one's a thumbs down.
figured. But
Salem's Lot, thumbs down.
so one good, one bad. We found something that didn't scare us, but I could definitely see scaring maybe younger children, which is something at least. And just a fun popcorn movie to watch during the Halloween season, along with old classics, like you said, like Hocus Pocus, Haunted Mansion, even It, which I would say is the scarier of all those. But going forward into the rest of October, hopefully we will find something that will scare us.
Just scare us.
We will
Yeah.
see though, because we do have things like Terrifier 3 coming out, which I think will scare us in a very different way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. After one and two, I'm not holding up high hopes.
no, but anyways, thank you guys for listening. We hope that we'll hear you again. Make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, and a follow. We do have our link tree down below in the comments. And so go to all of our different things. We are doing a 31-day countdown for Halloween on Instagram, as well as on X, not Twitter, X. And slowly we will start getting more into the TikTok realm. But definitely check out some of our other videos. And we hope to see you guys next week. And hopefully something will scare us already.